summary video. Here we are in Somerville, Massachusetts. We're looking at a fire escape here that's a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Probably 25 plus years old, at least. It's got original hardware, but the original hardware is hex head bolts. So I placed this fire escape in the 25-year range. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted, and must first pass an examination, and the fire escape can then be certified or tested, and depending on the city official in the area, they will determine whether they'll accept an affidavit, which is an opinion letter stating that the fire escape is structurally sound and has been kept painted, or whether they will want, depending on the issues that we are going to talk about, whether they want you to spot repair the fire escape and load test it, or whether they want you to do a full refurb to avoid the load test. So we'll discuss that with the authority having jurisdiction, which is the building department in the city of Somerville. So let's talk about a couple things. First of all, through bolted back into the building on both sides, as you can see there. The issue is that water's getting in here and water has been getting into that, so we need to verify. But minimum, this has got to get closed up so that water starts getting, ice and water and snow gets in there, and it's rotting out this one through bolt. And the other side has the same issue, so we got to get the back end of it closed up so that doesn't get in there. Number two, the other structural issues that we're finding is see this grating, see that spacer, and those other spacers right there. That means the rod that's inside there is rotting out. So you can, same thing here. See, the rod is rotting out, and this is an indication that the rod is rotted out from the inside. So, and see the rod is just bent over. So it's usually a quarter or 3/8 rod, and this one looks like it's a quarter, and it goes through to the other side, and they bend it on the other side, like you see over there. See that rod bent? So that rod. What happens is when these things break, like it's about to break there in the middle, somebody steps their foot, these things open up and your foot gets stuck inside. So you can either replace this grating or put a piece of flat underneath it, and then with spacers, these grating grabbers, you can basically reinforce it so that you can get another 5 or so years from this piece of grating. So that's number one. Number two, you got original hardware, so the fire escape can either be load tested to avoid, if you have existing structural fasteners that are in good order, you can proceed to a load test, or the city will allow me to give you an opinion on this fastener, saying that it's in good order, and if that's the case, then we'll sign off that affidavit. You get a little bit of rust buildup in some of these areas here, so that's got to be cleaned out, and then silicone shut so that the water doesn't keep rusting this out. Otherwise, that's going to cause problems for the future. And again, we're not going to certify this fire escape for another 5 years. You got rust buildup on that footing that comes down to the ground. There's rust inside that clip, so you got to change the rust in that clip over there that I can see in the photograph. And it's resting on your roof. Usually that's sitting on top of a pressure-treated piece of wood. So I recommend that either a single or a doubled-up pressure-treated piece of wood lay on your roof so you can fix your roof anytime you wish. And if you're going to change this bolt anyway, just shorten the leg, put a piece of pressure-treated underneath on your roof so that you can play with your roof. Silicone shut that in the back, as I talked about before. These connections look in good order, pre-existing connections. They don't have any rust buildup, so these look good. Going down, your biggest issue that you're going to have on this fire escape is really the treads looking down. I'm having some issues possibly with some of these fasteners, and these spacers are starting to show, but the real issue that's happening here is that because there's no place for the dirt to go, that it's starting to eat the top of your bolts. So look, see all that debris? That debris is eating the top of your bolts. And it's really evident doors at the bottom, see? Now you have no more head left on this one. So all these treads, look, all eaten. The head is eaten, buried and eaten. Again, when debris accumulates in there, they rot the heads. And as you keep coming down further and further and further, what's going to happen is you're going to see all that rot. You can't even see the head anymore, buried. So we're going to have to clean these out, bury all the rust. A lot of times, this is a good one, nothing but rust there. Here, nothing but rust. And then that rust eats this clip, that eats this thing, so that's the main concern. These are tread components, and they tend to be the first thing that goes when you get a lot of accumulation and they don't have anywhere to drain to. And you see the green? See, it accumulates on here off the roof line, hits in here, and then it starts dripping right down. So you see all the drains? That's the amount of water that's coming in there and draining out, and it's green. So in order for you to have this much green, there's a lot of water hitting and it's rotting the top bolts, not necessarily the side bolts. The side bolts all look pretty good on this fire escape. So there's 2 top bolts, 2 side bolts. It's the top bolts that are the issue. Those need to be swapped out. Where it sits on the ground, as you can see, I got rotted clips, and this is already rotting. You try not to have steel hitting the ground with landscaping on the back. So this needs to be redone so that you have pressure treated, so that the sitting on pressure treated, usually doubled up pressure treated, 2 buys, and that way you can change it year after year, or every 5 years or every 10 years. You can change the pressure treated that is holding up the steel above the wetness of this landscaping. Your bolts in good order, and a lot of this is just surface rust, you know. So fire escape does not need a paint job, though I would recommend you get one. But a spot painting after you do all the work is all you really need on this, because fire escape does have a paint job. It's due for one, but for this certification you don't need a full paint job on this. You can need a spot paint all your work, and you're getting some buildup of, you know, dirt and debris in the back of these that are rotting the wood and rotting the angle. Otherwise, the fire escape is not so bad. But in conclusion, your treads, the top bolts on all your treads, the grading up there is a concern, because the spacers are all rotting from the inside out, as you can see in the video and in the photos. The through bolts are letting water in through the back, so you need to get that done. Some of this work can be done by the owner and or a vendor that is qualified and licensed. Some of this work will not need a permit, painting primarily. But you do have to discuss with the city official whether or not a permit is going to be required. Sometimes small work, they do not require a permit, but again, it's not our call. It's the city official who will get a copy of this report that must decide whether or not he wants, and depending on the severity of the repair, whether they want a permit or not, or if this is covered under general maintenance. Any questions? Fire escape engineers, inspector summary video, 866-649-0333. This is Cisco. Thank you.